All right, let's tackle a huge question today. What does it really mean for us as a species to make progress? For centuries, we thought the answer was pretty simple. But as we're about to see the real story, well, it's way more complicated than that.
You know, for the longest time, humanity has been chasing just one thing: growth. More stuff, more factories, more everything. But here's the thing. What if we've been reading the map completely upside down? Has all this focus on just growing actually made life better for all of us? And honestly, can we even keep this up forever? It kind of makes you wonder, what if our whole idea of progress was just wrong from the start?
So, to figure out where we're heading, we've got to look back first. Let's talk about the old blueprint, the original game plan for how countries were supposed to get ahead.
And the logic, well, it seemed pretty straightforward, right? The idea was that if a country could just make more stuff, move from farms to factories, then boom, prosperity would just happen. The big assumption was that if the economy grew, that wealth would trickle down to everybody. It was that classic, a rising tide lifts all boats idea. More money for the country would mean better schools, better hospitals, a better life for everyone, automatically.
And this is a huge but. There was a problem. While this big engine of growth was chugging along, it was kicking up a whole lot of dust. It was causing massive problems that the original plan just completely ignored. Turns out it had some really dangerous blind spots.
And this is where the whole thing starts to unravel, because that relentless chase for growth, it came with a massive price tag, a cost that was just way too high for both people and for the planet.
So, let's talk about the social cost first. The results were not great. In fact, they were often the exact opposite of what was promised. Instead of lifting everybody up, this old model just created huge gaps between the rich and the poor. In a lot of places, poverty actually got worse. And because it was all about profit, you saw terrible exploitation of workers, even kids. That promised better life for millions of people, it just never happened.
And then there's the environmental cost. Wow. It was just as bad, if not worse. This model basically treated our planet like an all-you-can-eat buffet that would never run out. We were tearing through natural resources, pumping out way more pollution than the Earth could possibly handle, messing up the ozone layer, and cranking up the heat on the whole planet with global warming. We're talking water scarcity, entire ecosystems just gone, all in the name of growth.
Okay, so it was pretty clear at this point. The old blueprint was a total failure. It was broken. The promise of a better life for everyone, well, it wasn't coming true. With all these social and environmental disasters piling up, it was obvious we needed a new plan, a totally new map for the future.
And that new map has a name: sustainable development. This is a whole new way of thinking. It's about finding a balance, a way to have progress that works for people and for the planet. The goal isn't just growth for growth's sake anymore. It's about creating a sense of well-being that can actually last.
And here's the classic definition, and it's so powerful. Development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Think about that. At its core, it's just about being fair. It's about not being selfish. It means we have to leave the world in as good a shape, or hey, maybe even a better shape than we found it. It's about progress that doesn't steal from our own kids.
Okay, so that sounds great, right? But how does it actually work? Well, it all comes down to a balancing act. It's built on 3 main pillars, and here's the key. They're all connected. You absolutely need all 3.
Pillar number 1 is social sustainability. This is the people part of the puzzle. It's all about making sure we have a society that's fair, where everyone, and I mean everyone, can get things like good healthcare and an education. It's about making sure money is shared more fairly and that you and I have a real voice in the decisions that shape our world.
Next up, pillar number 2, environmental sustainability. This one's all about respecting our planet's limits. Think of it like a budget. We can't spend more than we have. It means we can't use up resources faster than they can grow back, and we absolutely cannot dump more pollution into the system than the Earth can naturally clean up. It's that simple. We have to live within our means. And the third pillar is economic sustainability. Now, this is really important. This doesn't mean we get rid of the economy. Not at all. It just means we need to build an economy that's smart, one that can keep producing things we need for the long run. It's about businesses being able to make a profit for sure, but doing it in a way that's responsible and doesn't waste our precious resources.
And this is where it all comes together. This diagram shows it perfectly. Look, if you just focus on the economy and society, you forget the environment, and it collapses.
If you focus on society and the environment but forget the economy, well, that's not going to work for long. And if you have a great economy and a healthy environment but people are treated unfairly, that's a recipe for disaster. True, real sustainability, it only exists right there in the middle, in that sweet spot where all three overlap, where the economy is viable, society is fair, and our impact on the planet is bearable.
So that's the big idea. It makes a lot of sense, right? But how do we actually do it? How do we take this from a nice idea on a chart to something real? And how do we even know if we're making progress?
Well, that's where these come in. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. The easiest way to think about them is as a giant global to-do list. The United Nations created them as a roadmap for everyone. They cover everything you can think of: ending poverty, fighting climate change, reducing inequality, all with this one big deadline: get it done by 2030.
And the cool thing is, we can actually track how countries are doing with something called the SDG Index. So, for example, in 2023, Japan was ranked 21st and Egypt was at 81st. Now, the important thing to get here is that this isn't about one country being good and another being bad. It just shows that every country is in a different place. We're all on this journey together, but we're all facing our own unique challenges along the way.
You know, when you boil it all down, when you strip away all the charts and the goals, sustainable development is really about one simple, powerful thing: fairness. It's about fairness between generations. It's a promise we make to the people who aren't even born yet. A promise that we'll leave this world at least as good as we found it.
So, we've gone from this old, broken blueprint that was all about growth at any cost to a new, much more hopeful one. A blueprint that tries to balance what's good for people, what's good for the planet, and what's good for our economy. We have the map, we have the to-do list, we have the blueprint for a much better future. So really, there's only one question left to ask. Can we actually build it?